Tell everyone what we're doing today. What are we doing today? What are we showing how to do? Okay, so today I'm gonna show you guys how to peel, cut, and roast a butternut squash. If you follow me on Instagram, Maggie, what do you want? Huh? Maggie keeps whining at me, but I just let her out and fed her, so I don't know. But if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love roasted butternut squash. I add it to salads, bowls, even just have it as a side. Every time I post it, people ask, how do I peel it, cut it, de-seed it, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, why not just make a video and show you guys exactly how I do it, and then also how I put together a little lunch bowl. Also, it lasts for a while in the pantry, which is nice while we're in quarantine and trying not to go to the store too much. I've had this one in my pantry for like 2 weeks now, and it's still perfectly good. So I already have my oven preheated to 425. 400 or 425 works. And I washed my butternut squash, the outside of it. You don't eat the skin, but I always wash it just because it's kind of been handled at the store and you're gonna be cutting into it. So it's just a good idea to just quickly rinse it off before. So you can use a vegetable peeler like this to peel it, but I feel like that's kind of hard. I don't know. I'm gonna show you the way that I do it because I think this is the easiest way. But you can use this if you have one and you want to. Okay, I always struggle with getting my camera to show me and whatever I'm doing on the table at the same time. So I literally have my cutting board on a box right now. So that's my makeshift cooking video skills. Okay, so I have my butternut squash, it's washed, I have a cutting board, a sharp knife, and I am going to start by just cutting off the little stem part. So, gotta be super careful. There's definitely been times where I have cut it pretty close. Okay, so we cut that part off, looks like this. And then in most butternut squashes, there is a long part, and then this part is usually more circular. You can't really tell as much in this one, but I am just going to cut the long part. So as close as I can to where the circular part starts. Whoa, okay. So this is what it looks like. This part does not have any seeds. This part is just the squash. This part is the one that is gonna have the seeds. So I take the long part, we'll just set this aside for now. I take the long part and then I cut it into, I would say maybe like 1.5 inches each thick pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have all these different pieces, and this is when I peel it. So I'm just gonna set these ones down here for a second. So I just go around and cut the peel off of all of the edges like this. So I'll go ahead and do that. The best part about cutting a butternut squash is that you're not only cutting a butternut squash, you're also getting in an arm workout. So it's like you're multitasking and you'll already have your workout done for the day too. So as you can see, I cut the edges off. It's not perfect, it doesn't matter. So all the peel is off of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that with all of these round pieces. Okay, so now the peeling part is over. So I have all of my pieces of butternut squash. They're all peeled. And now I'm going to cut them into cubes. So let's do that next. I'll show you guys how I do one of them and then I'll speed up the rest so I don't bore you. So I just take the piece of squash and kind of cut it into even pieces. So that it looks like this. See? And then we're gonna go the other way and just cut it this way so that we get little cubes. Oops. This one's out of the way. So now we have our cubes, and I'm going to do that with the rest of those pieces. So sometimes if I cut this part a little bit too thick, I will cut that in half again. It's pretty easy to cut actually once you get the peel off. The peel is the hard part, so after that it's pretty much smooth sailing. So I have my whole squash cut up and I just have a baking tray with parchment paper and I just put all my squash on there. Don't worry, did not forget about this piece. So this is the part that's kind of a pain in the butt. So I usually just leave the peel on, cut it in half. Oh, back to the hard part because the peel is on it. Okay. So if you open it up, well, that's freaking weird. There's like some sprouts in there. So there's seeds in here. So I'm just gonna take a spoon and scoop out the seeds. 1 second, let me grab a spoon. I like using this little grapefruit spoon because it kind of has jagged edges. Just makes it easier, but you can use a regular spoon too. So I just kind of scoop out the seeds. So usually it does not have sprouts like this. I'm thinking it's probably okay, but I think once I stop the video, I'm gonna Google and make sure that it's okay to eat if it had sprouts in it. So usually it's just seeds, not these little, see the little white things attached to the seeds, those sprouts? That's usually not there. So as soon as I Google it, I'll let you guys know. You can also save the seeds and roast them just like you would roast pumpkin seeds, but I don't usually do that. You can hear Maggie snoring under the table. She's so cute. So I just scooped out the inside. So it was like this. Now it's like this. So once you have that, what I usually do is just cut this in half or into thirds. And I'm just gonna roast it just like that. And then you can kind of just eat this. I eat these ones as more of a side of a meal rather than topping a bowl or a salad with it. And I obviously just don't eat the skin, but I'll just eat around the skin and it's still super good. And I'll roast it right on the same pan. So I'll set these over here. We're doing some sprout research. Let's see here. Can you eat a butternut squash that had sprouts inside of it? Says, although uncommon, premature sprouting of seeds inside of fruit sometimes occurs in squash, tomatoes, peppers, corn, blah, blah, blah. The squash should be safe to eat. Lit. All right. Cool. I'm going with it. Okay, so now I'm just going to scoop out the seeds this side, and then we'll get it ready to put in the oven. And if you're wondering what the taste of squash is, it's kind of similar to, I would compare it to roasted sweet potato. Sometimes I'll put roasted sweet potato on my salads too. I usually switch back and forth, but it's pretty comparable to that. I would say the texture is a little bit different, but that is probably the most comparable thing I can think of. Okay, so we have our seeds out. I'm gonna cut this piece up. I'm just doing thirds because it's a little bit bigger. So I have my big pan, all my squash is on there. It's all just kind of in a big pile right now. I am going to take my avocado oil spray. Also, I'll sometimes just use regular avocado oil, not in the spray bottle, but I happen to have this on hand and I like it because it coats it more evenly. And the only ingredient is avocado oil. Check your oil sprays because those will have some gross ingredients sometimes. So I'm just gonna spray it, all the pieces, and then I'm going to top it with some salt. I love salt. And then some pepper. Aren't these cool? My grandma got them for us. Okay. Then take clean hands and you're gonna just kind of toss it all together just so everything's evenly coated with the oil, salt, and pepper. You can also add any other seasonings that you like. I just like to keep it simple because then it can go in a variety of different meals, different salad flavors, different, just whatever kind of flavor bowl you're going for. So I'm gonna take these pieces that are bigger that still have the peel on them, and I'm going to flip those upside down, or at least on their side, whichever way they'll go. Like so. Okay, and then I'm just gonna spread out the butternut squash cubes so that they'll cook evenly. So you want them to all be flat because that's what helps to get them crispy. So I think just about good. Okay, looks good. So I never even really time it. I'll usually set a timer on my oven for about 20 minutes and then I'll check on them. And if they start to look crispy on the facing down side, then I'll flip them and put them in for another 10 minutes or so. If they're not looking crispy yet, then I'll just stick them back in the oven for another 5 or 10 minutes, then flip, and then another 5 or 10 minutes to that. So I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like. So I have my big pieces of squash here, upside down, hands all wet, I just washed it. And then I have the cubes evenly placed, and I'm just going to stick it in the oven. So it's been 20 minutes, it is literally steaming, but inner pieces, I know I shouldn't do this with my hands, but they're starting to get crispy like that. I don't know why it won't focus, like that. So I'm just gonna flip those ones over. The ones along the edges will always start to get crispy before the ones in the middle. So I'll just flip all the ones in the corner and then leave the center ones like this, face down still because they aren't crispy. And I'll just stick it back in the oven and I'm gonna do another 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, I thought I'd show you guys really quick. So I flipped all of the ones around the edges. The ones in the middle, I left how they were. And I also flipped these pieces just because they were starting to get crispy too. And now I'm gonna stick it back in the oven. So I put it back in for another 15 minutes and just took it out. and I think it is looking pretty good. Those pieces are starting to get a little bit crispy in the middle. So now I'm just going to store it in a container, and then I'll use it for bowls, salads, different meals all week long. Okay, so now that my butternut squash is all done, I'm gonna show you guys how I put together a little lunch bowl. Well, it's actually kind of a big lunch bowl, but this is what I've been having for lunch almost every single day these past few weeks, and it's just a staple. I love it all the time. So I'm gonna show you guys everything that I use and exactly how I put it together. So I have my bowl here, and it's just full of spinach. And then I have my toppings here. I'm just using the butternut squash, some rotisserie chicken, avocado, and beets. I made a homemade dressing, which I've also been doing every day. Super simple. I just mix together avocado oil mayo. I'm using the Sir Kensington one. Yes, I think mayo is healthy if it's made with better oils. You don't want to use mayo that's made with canola or soybean oil, really even sunflower. I would just avoid any of those oils because they're just super processed and inflammatory. So avocado oil mayo, this True Foods barbecue, I've talked about this in other videos. I'm obsessed with all of their stuff, but ingredients are super good. Let's see if you can read that. I'll show you when I flip the camera the other way. But it's just basically a lower sugar barbecue sauce. It's amazing. And a little bit of Dijon. And then I add it to a bowl and add a little bit of water so that it gets to be a dressing consistency. And it's super good. Sounds like a weird combo, I know, but you just gotta trust me. So I'll show you guys real quick. Okay, so I have my lettuce, my beets. I actually didn't even cook my own beets because I'm lazy. I use these ones. I bought them at Whole Foods. I think you can also get them at Meijer though. So my butternut squash, it looks so good. And then this is just a rotisserie chicken. I buy an organic one from Whole Foods almost every week. It's actually a really good deal for the amount of chicken you get, especially because it's already cooked for you and it's good quality. So, and then I have some avocado. So I'm gonna add all of these on top of my lettuce, and that'll be my lunch bowl. All right, guys, that is it. Sometimes I'll switch up the variation a little bit and use different roasted vegetables, or I'll add some hearts of palm, which is something I've recently tried and I love, or nuts and seeds or dried fruit, things like that. So I always switch it up, and I seriously never get bored or sick of it. I crave this every single day. So I am going to eat this for lunch. I'll probably also have some pretzels and hummus on the side. One more thing I wanted to say was for the butternut squash, when I store it in a container in the fridge, when I want to heat it up, I'll usually just put it in the oven on broil for a minute or two, and it just heats it right up. Otherwise, occasionally I'll use the microwave, but I think it stays crispier and fresher when I heat it up in the oven. So that's actually how I heat up my chicken too, and everything, all my leftovers most of the time. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope you guys give it a try if you have not already, or if you have made butternut squash and it seemed harder. I hope this just helps make it a little bit easier. I'm gonna go eat this, and I'll talk to you guys later.